Oops. Good afternoon, everyone. Go ahead and call to order our meeting for the Brawley City Council and successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Our regular meeting for today, Tuesday, November 17th, 2020 at 6 p.m. being held here at our City Council Chambers, 383 Main Street in Brawley. And we have roll call.
Councilmember Couchman.
Here.
Councilmember Nava.
Here.
Councilmember Wharton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamby.
Here.
Mayor Kastner Howe.
Here. Okay, we'll move on to invocation. Mayor Pro Tem, would you do us the honor of the invocation?
Certainly. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, we are grateful once again that we have the opportunity to gather together and conduct business here to try to guide our city. Lord, there's a lot of unrest and uncertainty and a lot of transition, and we ask that you would give us wisdom and guide our thought process and help us to make good decisions for our city. We ask that you would keep our community safe in this uptick in COVID cases. We ask that you would watch over our first responders, our law enforcement, our fire department, keep them safe. Watch over us this evening. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Councilman Couchman, can you lead us on the pledge?
Sure. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both.
You're welcome.
Okay, looking for approval of our agenda.
This is George. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'll second it after, I'd like to request to remove item 2D because Elliot Hauser's not able to be here this evening, so we'll postpone that to another meeting.
Okay.
2D, you said?
Yeah, 2D.
Yeah, 2D.
I'll amend my motion to approve the agenda, removing item 2D.
And I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, moving on to public appearances and comments, not to exceed 4 minutes. This is a time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. To maintain social distancing, physical presence is strongly discouraged. Alternative methods of participation are encouraged, and should a member of the public wish to provide public comments, please submit written comments via email. Did we receive any written public comments? Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to make a public comment? This one's fine.
Eric Reyes, 1128 Elm Court. As you know, unfortunately, we've had posted things about the Chevron acceptance of money, and some people have taken it upon themselves who were not involved in this whole issue to take pot shots at you individually, and I'm sorry about that. I apologize completely for that. That was not fair. But I will say that as I stated in my in my post as well, deeply disappointed by the city of Brawley accepting that without any mention of all the struggle, the more than 2 decades worth of work, where Chevron was found guilty of allowing such a discrepancy, such an issue, and the families that were impacted that will never know. We're trying to move that forward still about soil testing. Did it drift into the neighborhood where it exists? And if we can find them culpable, we will. It's been a long haul for many of us who will continue this fight, and we will continue to the end. And the families impacted. And I just want to say, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Did the Desert Review and others not state the issues that were impacted as to why Chevron came up with it? It wasn't out of benevolence. It was a cheap attempt to buy positive propaganda in our community at the expense of those who have been impacted. I cannot withhold that at all. And shame on Chevron. And we're here to complain. We're here to point that out, that it was not done properly. And Chevron, if you give it $300,000, not even have it give it to you yet, out of $1 billion corporation per year, is a shame and a disgrace. If we as a city accept it, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
Good evening, council members, mayor. Well, Miguel Hernandez with Comité Cívico del Valle. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. And I also want to express, on behalf of the organization I represent today, Comité Cívico del Valle, we're really disappointed with what this sort of award that was given to the city. Not that it's not necessary for the Lions Center, not that it's not necessary for our community, but as stated previously by Eric, you know, it's been a long advocacy effort, not just by us, by community members for decades, ever since that facility was there, how the community has been impacted ever since. And just to see this action that was taken by Chevron with the intent of sort of, you know, having a good presence, a positive, you know, presence in our community, it's not really something that we have to celebrate. It's actually the other way around. This is just a drop in the bucket for everything that our community has gone through. It's really disrespectful for the community that lives in the whole city of Brawley, not just the neighbors of this facility. I live about 2-3 blocks east from this facility, and my kids go to Oakley, and they, you know, get to breathe that, you know, dust that gets picked up by the wind. And I have to see them, you know, go through the nosebleeds and all of that. And it's really disrespectful, like I said, to those families, to my family, and to see this being used as a sort of a token that allows Chevron to continue to do things as they're doing it. You know, us as the organization, we've been advocating for many years. We've been, you know, bringing this picket signs every time we get a chance. And I think this is a fair ask for us to, you know, still bring in community members to this concern. And you know, you represent our community. You were elected by our community. So, you know, I ask you to please, you know, represent our community when these issues happen. Please put forth all those struggles that we've been through. And I hope to see, you know, strong leadership that you guys all are for this city to make things better for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Isabel Solis. I currently reside 1128 Elm Court, but I grew up on 669 North Adams. My parents got the opportunity to have a home finally. They are farm workers, and this is very hard for me. They were able to get a home through this program that allowed them to build their home. And so as a 7th grader, I was very happy that we were finally going to have our own home. I grew up in Campo. That's where I grew up. And before that, I was in the old Campo that got, you know, it was no good. So we had to move out of there. So it was great to know that we had a home. My parents' home is 1 block away from Pure Grow. And I got to meet all of the community there because we helped each other build those homes. Little did we know what we were living next to. A lot of my neighbors have died of cancer. A lot of my neighbors suffer from asthma. My brother suffers from asthma. We don't know if it was caused by those chemicals. We still need to know if that is what is happening in that soil, and if it is, what about all of those trees that were, you know, grown there and we ate fruit from? We don't know. The water, we don't know. So it was very disappointing to me when I saw in the newspaper that Chevron is like a hero. Chevron is not a hero. It can't be a hero. And like Miguel said, you represent us. We will be here generation after generation. But Chevron is going to be here when it benefits them. So I am really disappointed that our elected officials are going to give them recognition. To me, that is a slap in the face. And once again, all those people cannot be here, all those neighbors, because they are gone. Just about every household in those couple of blocks have had someone die of cancer. Will we know? We want to know, even if it takes 20 more years. So I please ask that you be more considerate when it comes to this issue.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, on our agenda, actually on that, there is a item 2E. It was on our agenda as a presentation of Chevron donation for Lions Center improvements. And what I would like to share, and I'll also allow our council members to share any thoughts that they may have, is that Chevron did approach us about wanting to assist the city with a community benefit in the amount of $300,000. They indicated that they would provide $150,000 this year and another $150,000 next year. And they said that this is one thing that I wanted to make sure to impress on all of you, is that they have spent millions of dollars already, and they're going to be spending more money on the actual site with the cleanup that they're currently doing and the removing of the stockpile. And you know, we've been providing updates, and the community is aware of those. And that only happened because of the community. We really are appreciative of you, the community members, that actually forced that issue. We were there too. When we held these community gatherings to give all of the members of the community the opportunity to express themselves with their concerns to Chevron and to the Department of Toxic Substance Control. So basically the cleanup that's happening now and that is on target as far as the time frame, all happened because of your efforts. And the fact that they now want to provide us with an additional community benefit, I was speaking for myself. It was never our intention or my intention to applaud them. I know that they basically are doing what they promised to do as far as the cleanup and the stockpile removal. I understand why you feel the way you feel, and I sympathize with everyone. I grew up here in Brawley also, and I know the issues. I know the issues about cancer. I have family members with cancer, so this is not foreign to me. So I do want to acknowledge all of your efforts in what's transpired to this date and the cleanup that is still moving forward. I'm not sure why, but they felt that it would be a good they wanted to show that they cared for our community, is what we were told, that they wanted to show that they cared for the city of Brawley, and that's why they offered this additional community benefit. So now I'll give an opportunity to the rest of council to make comments if they'd like.
I'll make a comment. So I do appreciate Mr. Reyes, Ms. Solis, and members of Comité Cívico for coming out, and I share your frustration, because I read the communication sent up by the city, and quite frankly, I was disappointed in the message, because I know that if it wasn't for the community engagement that took place, we wouldn't be in this position, right? And so the way it read simply was that it was a benefit for the city, and Chevron was making it essentially out of their goodwill, which in fact we know that is not the case, right? And so I think it goes back to something that I've said and I've stated before publicly, and I've stated it to this council, and I've stated it to city management, and I believe Council Member Wharton has backed me on this. It's just our messaging. We make poor decisions when we message these sorts of things like this. And it could have been done much better. There was no mention of the decades-long struggle from the community. There was no mention, especially of the past 5 years, it's been the focus of the community effort to clean that place up. And quite honestly, it wasn't the city of Brawley that forced that cleanup, it was the community. There was no mention of that. So I can see why it's insulting, and it's a stressful topic when it comes back. I will share this with you, though. The cleanup effort is not done yet. So that continues, and it's been discussed through these conversations that there would be a community benefit to help our community as a result of this longstanding issue with Chevron. So in that regard, I'm happy to see that is being brought forth. But I think the messaging was poor, and this is me personally speaking, not just as a council member, but me personally speaking. When they wanted to make a presentation and make, a check presentation like it's some grand thing. Look, they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. We're a small community, and so yeah, it's great to have funds in here, but not at the cost of our community. So anyway, those are my comments. I'm disappointed as well. I don't want to fully criticize our community and our city, but I think it could just have been communicated much more effectively and been considerate of the people that have fought hard to make that issue that's been longstanding be resolved. And quite frankly, that wasn't the city council, that wasn't the city, it was the people that advocated for that change. So having said that, I'll leave it at that, but thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Moore?
In order. Well, certainly, I think, thank you, Councilmember Nava. I think you pretty much summed up certainly most of what I was thinking. But in addition, I think I'm just going to add to the disappointment is the stakeholder effort, especially, as we mentioned, members of the community, residents, right on down to the individual stories that not only were shared tonight, that have been shared actually numerous times through the numerous opportunities for hearings and engagement. This has been a labor of many, not only decades, but in particular just the years that we finally have gotten ourselves to a point today where we can even say that this has been addressed. I think it's almost gone on for generations where it was unaddressed. So again, what should be something maybe as a community for us to look inward and figure out, this is not, we're not finished, the project's not finished, but where we're going in the interest of the community, these things always set a precedence. If there's anything to celebrate, frankly, it would be how we can come together as a community. And I think that's been said before, and I do remember echoing that in previous council meetings that we pull together, we work together, not just us here as council. This is clearly where we have to come together and band in the interest of our community, because if we don't fight for it, who will, right? And so I appreciate the comments. They are received, and I hope we can still stick together because there's more work to do.
Thank you, Councilman Warden. Councilman Couchman?
Okay. The only thing I have to say is, this has been a long, drawn-out process. I know that the community's been deeply involved in all of this, and I believe that the project is ongoing. They are providing much more cleanup than what we had anticipated initially, and what they had wanted to do and what the state wanted them to do. And I think that's due to the community input and the people that came out in order to force that issue with Chevron. As far as the funding for the Lion Center goes, these types of issues were discussed with Chevron all along through this 5-year or 6-year period. And I think Brawley at the time was asking for something from them. We didn't know what we would receive, and we weren't sure what that was going to be, if we would even receive anything, and we weren't really required to receive anything from them without some form of legal action. So I think in this situation, I think they've made this effort to provide some money to the city of Brawley, and I think for the Lion Center, which benefits the majority of the city, I think, in terms of children and adults that utilize that facility. So I don't want to see us necessarily turn that money away. I think we accept it and we move forward. That acceptance of that money does not let Chevron off the hook. Chevron is still has to do the cleanup. They have to complete the project. There may be additional issues that come up, and the community is certainly able to bring those up, and individuals are able to bring those up with Chevron. There may be legal action in the future. That's something that this $300,000 does not preclude under any circumstances. And I think that there are some issues that can be addressed with that, and there may be additional money that comes forward. And I don't know all the details on any of that. All I know is that they made this effort, and so, you know, as far as the Lions Center goes, it's certainly needed. And under these COVID situations, with our budget the way they are, it's certainly even more needed than what it might be in other time periods when we could maybe discuss this with them some more. I do think there's going to be additional requests made from the state to them, from the locals, from the community, and from individuals that live in that area, and also from the city to Chevron to be a good neighbor and to provide what they need to provide. And so I think those are some of the discussion that will continue. I apologize if it was communicated incorrectly, and I think those things happen occasionally, but I do think that I think since we're moving forward with this, I think we need to be pleased that we are moving forward and we are getting some things done on that, because for many, many years, and I've been here all my life, and for many, many years, nothing was done over there. And I don't think anybody wanted to do anything for a long time. Maybe the members of the community that live close to that, but overall, the state, nor Chevron, or anyone else, or the original people that started that business over there, they never made any effort to really do very much. So I think we should be pleased that we've got this far on this effort and continue those good works, and maybe we can continue forward, and maybe we can communicate a little bit better. But I also think that we need to move forward on all of these issues. And so with that, that's my message to the community.
Thank you, Councilman Clausen. Mayor Pro Tem Hamby, you have comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just reiterate what the rest of council has said, that I was impressed by the broad cross-section of community members that were at those town hall type meetings. I saw people from different backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, business owners and residents, and people that were concerned who live in that part of town, because the wind typically blows that way from that property. And I'm glad to see the stockpile going, because I think it's symbolic of a time that was not so good, that those contaminants were there. And I am glad to see Chevron stepping up as a result of the outcry from the community. I guess, I realize that for a company that is worth as much as Chevron is, it seems like it's a pittance, or that it would never be enough, but I am glad to see the progress that's been made. It's like it was done overnight after decades of work, and so I want to express my appreciation to those that have gone before and have worked hard at this issue, and I appreciate my fellow council members for showing up to those meetings as well, to not only express their concern but also their support for the community and the wishes of the community in that area of town. We don't always make the right decisions, but I do think that this outcome is better than what I expected it to be. As with anything in life, it could always be better, but I'm grateful to see the cleanup effort continuing, and my hope is that one day we'll see that property being used for something different than just vacant land. But thank you for coming and making your concerns known. And as Sam said, I hope to see us move forward on this. It's good to try to get this behind us.
I don't think there's any question that, there's been community engagement, that the city has also helped in providing a venue for people to express themselves. But the problem here is this, and I hope everybody understands it, is that this media release is on city letterhead. We get to control the message, and I'm not going to be promoting Chevron's message. That's what this is. And so there's no mention. One paragraph would have summed up a lot of what was discussed here today, a lot of the concerns that the people have here, and the public has, and the commenters have. And it could have addressed that and still sent a positive message of an improvement that's needed in our community. But instead, that conversation's been eliminated, and it's on our city letterhead. That's the problem, in that it's done by us. We put this message out to the public. So we can't blame them for being upset, because I read it and I immediately thought, who wrote this? And that is a concern. When the public, and I hate to bring this up, I'm not trying to throw the council under the bus or the city management under the bus, but I will tell you that we are responsible for this. We are responsible for this.
And I
This-
think we accept responsibility, George. I think we do. I accept responsibility. So, my apologies. That's all about, I mean, it's already been published, but I think, today we have explained, how we came to this particular point in time. And like everybody has said, I think we're gonna move forward with this, and we are monitoring what's happening over there at that site. They're continuing with the work. They're on schedule. And we're gonna stay on top of it. We're gonna make sure that site gets cleaned up, and that they keep their word on everything that they promised the community, that they promised you, because they heard you when you showed up for those public forums. And that's our plan, is to continue with that. And if we fail to send the correct message, again, I think on behalf of all the council and staff, we apologize. Thank you. Okay, nothing else on that. We're going to go ahead and move forward to our consent agenda. Need a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Couchman, second by Mayor Pro Tem Hamby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to regular business, item 4 on our agenda. And we'll get an update on the City of Brawley declaration of local emergency as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. And we have our Fire Chief, Mike York, to do presentation. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Mike York, Fire Chief, City of Brawley. This evening's update, these numbers are provided by various websites and are the most recent information. I'll start with our local case counts here in the Imperial Valley. As of yesterday evening, we have tested a total of 85,044 people within our county. So we're approaching about 50% of the population that have been tested. We've had a total negative case count of 70,273. Total positive case count of 14,301. As of today, we had an active case count of 746, which is a little more than 300 more than my last report. So we are definitely seeing the spike that's been advertised in local media and the news. We're certainly feeling it here in the Imperial Valley. Hospital census, we have currently 62 that are hospitalized with 20 in the ICU. So our hospital census of COVID positive patients has gone up since last report, but our ICU numbers have gone down. So generally indicates that the severity of the disease on the patients that are in the hospital is lesser than before. We can't continue to count on that, of course. As of today, we're at a 0% surge capacity. And I'll get to some of the reasons why in just a second. We have recovered. We've had a total of 13,204 persons that had tested positive recover, and unfortunately, we've recorded 351 deaths in the Imperial County. That's the 13 more than the last report. So we're actually seeing a spike in not only positive cases but also in deaths. As always, the age group 60 and above is the most affected. The actual age group that's most affected is 70 to 79, but it's actually very close between those individual age groups. In the 92227 zip code, we have recorded 2,323 positive cases and 45 of the deaths within the Imperial County. Our neighbors to the east in Yuma County, as a kind of a concern of similar population, similar considerations, they've tested 86,672 persons. They've had a confirmed rate of 15,519, and they've recorded 365 deaths that were COVID related. Our neighbors to the south in Mexicali, as their testing methods are slightly different, I don't have their full testing numbers, but they've recorded 10,647 positive cases. They recorded 1,727 deaths, so much higher death rate in Mexicali. As of today, they have a total of 161 active in their hospitals. Regards to the blueprint for a safer economy, as we all know, risk level identifiers have been color coded. We have remained in the purple tier since the beginning, or since the release of this roadmap. There was a point in August that we were getting very close to moving up to the red tier. Unfortunately, we started slipping back. As you may have noticed, the majority of counties in the state of California were moved back to purple tier last night by the governor's staff. Imperial County, currently in widespread or purple tier, is a measurement of case counts per 100,000 and a positive test percentage. Our most recent numbers, we are at 38.85 persons per 100,000. For reference, last report we were at 26 persons. Our positivity rate has climbed to 19.68%. So 1 out of 5 persons being tested is testing positive. The numbers provided by the state website are slightly different due to their methods, but they're showing us at 37.6 per 100,000 and still at a 16.5% positivity rate. So we're very deep into the thresholds of the widespread. As of October 6th, the state included a health equity metric where they compared the positivity rate of the total population to the positivity rate of the most vulnerable populations. And we also have to meet a metric on that, which is less than 8%. Currently, we're at 12.4%. So we're really deep into the purple is a way to put it. For reference, the Imperial County COVID website has added a new tab that is recording cases per day. Prior, you would have to kind of look at the total case count by individual day and do some math. Now they're providing it a little bit easier format. So if you want to see how many people per day are testing positive, it's a really informative graph, and it certainly conveys the seriousness of the pandemic as it's affecting our local community. Our local testing site at 575 J Street has collected a total of 15,250 samples since opening. It's collecting about 662 samples per week. Its capacity is 132 samples per day, and this last week it has processed 132 samples per day. So it's operating at maximum efficiency. Their turnaround time is starting to reduce. Last report, it was about 40 hours. This week, they reported their turnaround time has fallen to 97 hours. I think that may be a consideration of just the increase in testing and the number of kits that are going to the laboratory to be processed. Brawley Fire and EMS response within our city. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've responded to 151 calls that were COVID related and 68 calls that were confirmed COVID positive. Again, we're seeing an increase in our 911 calls. So you may recall that at the beginning of the pandemic, we did see an increase in call volume, and then our call volume fell off sharply as people were self-isolating or seeking treatment at their primary care physician. Because of the recent changes through the county EOC and related stakeholders, there's obviously been a lot of discussion concerning the local response and the recent increases. Some of which that I can share tonight is that additional staffing is being planned at both hospitals using contract labor companies. These aren't just nurses, they're doctors, they're staff all across the hospital. The state is assisting in providing that staffing. Building out additional beds for both hospitals. You may have seen on social media that El Centro has received I'll call it a tent for better purposes, but it's a portable building that's going to house 50 beds on site for surge capacity. Brawley has a plan in place for adding 10 beds, but it's within their existing campus. No outlying buildings are going to be constructed. The alternative care site at IVC is now operational and is patient ready as of today. They have received no patients, but they have their staffing, they're warmed up, they're ready to start receiving in case that needs to happen. I have no answers as of right now. I do know that there is a very deep discussion going on across the county and stakeholders regarding the review of tier restrictions. There is some anticipation that we're going to see possible guideline changes, even though we were in purple, we've remained in purple. We might see the guidelines for within that tier change as well. And I think some of the stuff that's been shared statewide is the governor has talked about some of the changes to quote unquote essential businesses, and also the possibility, at least has been discussed, of initiating curfews. We do have plans for 2 additional testing options.
Can I interrupt there
Yes,
for a
sir.
second? With respect to curfews, and Councilmember Wharton mentioned that to me earlier, is there any indication of what times they're looking at yet?
We have, nothing has been stated that I know of that's solid other than the consideration of implementing curfews.
Okay.
Other nations have done it. You know, depending on the data you're looking at, it's effective or not. And, you know, that's kind of the epidemiologist field.
Chief York, do you know if there's any enforcement at this time? I was watching the local news for San Diego, and they're actually going out and making sure that all the requirements are being met, or do you know of any enforcement is going on here in Imperial County?
My understanding is that throughout the county, they have mirrored the response that we have as a city, that we're focusing on education rather than enforcement.
Okay.
We're really trying to reach out to people and convince them and show them the data and educate them in a way that they understand the importance of these rules and guidelines, rather than initiate some sort of punitive action. That I am aware of, that has not changed throughout the county. We've maintained that within our city to almost every extent.
Okay, thank you.
We do have 2 additional testing options coming to the valley. I don't have full details on those. However, both of them are anticipated to be mobile in some capacity. Whether they spend a set period of time or if they move daily is being discussed. So just providing additional testing sites throughout the valley. That concludes my report. If there's any additional questions.
Any questions from council?
Chief, is there, in case I missed it, any status on PPE and that stockpile for the valley?
So we did have an initial issue getting the N95s, which are the filtration masks worn by healthcare providers. That pipeline has improved dramatically. In addition, speaking locally for the city of Brawley, there was a joint venture between, forgive me the name, basically Ford Motor Company and another medical supplier. And we have been the recipient of devices called PAPRs, or positive air purifying respirators. They're a device that have a hood that cover the whole head, and a backpack with a filtration system and a blower motor that moves filtered air. The filters are replaceable, the head shields are replaceable, and they're battery powered, and they provide a much greater protection level than an N95 mask. Other pipelines for PPE have seemed to solidified. What we're seeing a difficulty with right now, however, is medical gloves. So now, another challenge, but at the beginning of this, we foresaw that. We purchased quite a few months of stockpile, and I believe that might be the reason why we're seeing this bottleneck. Is I believe a lot of agencies did that, and now the manufacturers are trying to keep up.
And then maybe no detail, but I think it's important. It's coming up, vaccine, just the potential of vaccine deployment. My understanding, the California State Department of Health is obviously well into the planning phases of when that day comes. Just for the city of Brawley, our residents, Imperial County, is there any discussion there as far as future deployment and
So no solid plans have been made. During the Imperial County EMS stakeholders meeting this afternoon, some of the initial data, I apologize, I'm going to forget the name of it, the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, Moderna and
But
Pfizer.
thank you. Yeah. And there's another one, it starts with a B, and the name is about 30 letters long.
Yeah.
They're showing about a 94.5% protection rate. Obviously, for vaccines, that's pretty good. The attenuation, I'm sorry, not the rate of infection out of a 30,000 person clinical trial showed less than 100 people were infected by the vaccine. So they're working on those numbers, but as for administering or public access, no timeline has been made available or rules regarding that which.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything? Okay. Thank you very much.
Moving on, in front of you
Okay,
have
the
tonight a
resolution.
resolution.
Right.
We are at our 60-day extension for the declaration of state of emergency. Our last renewal was on September 22nd, special council meeting. This, by council direction, we bring a renewal of the declaration of emergency every 60 days.
Need a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Couchman and second by
Councilman
Councilman Wharton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
report. Very good.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good chief.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move on to item 4B, adopt resolution number 2020, resolution of the City of Brawley amending fiscal year 2020-2021 City of Brawley budget in the amount of $30,000, and the backup is on pages 41 through 43.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor. Again, on this issue, several months ago, I was approached by a former resident of the city of Brawley. He desired to make a donation to the city of Brawley directly for the purpose of purchasing personal protective equipment for fire personnel. There was some discussion back and forth and some delay due to COVID and some other issues, but I have received a check on November 1st in the amount of $30,000. In front of you is the council agenda report and a resolution for the approval of a budget adjustment, increasing revenues by $30,000 as well as expenditures for $30,000. The intent of receiving this money and the planned expenditure will put every single full-time firefighter in brand new turnouts. This is a monumental issue for us with the turnover that we've had and new hires, aging equipment. The gear that we wear is supposed to be replaced every 10 years. It's sized and fitted, so you can imagine that we have people that are in outdated gear that's not in the best shape. Receiving this donation is a huge step in putting us in NFPA compliance and protecting our personnel the best way we can.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the resolution.
And I'll go ahead and second that, and we'd like to thank our anonymous donor for that very generous donation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay. Thank you again.
Thank our donor, please.
Thank you.
Will
Yes,
do.
if you know who the, well, you probably do know.
I
who
do,
it
and
is.
he's been
Okay.
thanked quite.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'll bet.
Thank you.
Very generous.
Thank you.
Very generous, yes.
Okay. Moving on to item 4C. Adopt resolution number 2020, resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley declaring an emergency, ratifying action taken by the city manager, and approving emergency for the electrical separation of distribution pumps 423, 424, and 425 of the old electrical control system by Five Star Electric in the amount not to exceed $37,260 plus a contingency amount to be determined based on the field conditions. And backup is on pages 44 through 49. And we have our Public Works Director, Guillermo Cias, here to cover that.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council, Guillermo Sillas, Public Works Director. This item is to adopt a resolution declaring emergency to do an electrical separation on the 5 distribution pumps at the water treatment plant. Describing the material, the plant distributes the water throughout the system with 5 pumps. 2 of those were installed at the construction of the plant as variable speed drive, and the other 3 fixed. And for those that are not very familiar with those type of pumps, you can compare as a drill that you use to install some screws or so, where is variable speed is when it starts very slow and the way that you are pressing the button starts spinning quicker, as opposed to the other type that when you hit the button starts spinning very fast. So we can understand the way that operates in a similar form. And as the plan became age, and the system in 2013, the 2 pumps of the remaining 3 were set to variable speed drive to have 4 out of the 5. And at that time, they left the control panels for the fixed speed pumps, and they did the installation of the VFDs, or the variable speed drives. And as the plant became older, those components are creating problems because the humidity and the cold weather affects those old components, and to the point that it's necessary to remove them because they are not serving the purpose anymore. They are just in the middle of the system, the electrical system. And we hired this company, 5 Star, to do an assessment, and they had to trace the wires and find how is the setup. And so it's difficult to do like a bid process because it is many unknowns until the electricians are testing where the wires are going. So we have an event some weeks ago where the plan was they had to stop the pumps, and fortunately those 2 that were with BFDs were not affected, but the other 3 were. So the plant was very reduced in capacity, and so we would like to move quick on that to avoid, since the cold weather is approaching, so we don't want to have more problems with moisture and have another failure that compromise the delivery of the water. So that's the reason to ask for a resolution to declare this emergency. And the quote from this company is about $12,000 each pump. So we will be doing the electrical separation in 3 of them for a total of $37,260, plus some other problems that might be present during the field job.
Well, thank you so much for that very detailed explanation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Couchman,
I'll second.
and second by Councilman Wharton. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, you got
Thank you.
the approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 4D, discussion and potential action on the annual tree lighting ceremony. And who's going to cover that all? Okay, Tyler, our city manager.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, fellow council members. Before we talk about that, I do want to say that on behalf of the city and the council, I was able to personally thank our anonymous donor face-to-face. So I wanted to relay that and relay how important and how much appreciated it was on behalf for the city.
Fantastic.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
Annual tree lighting, we have a wonderful ceremony that we've had in the past with the kids singing and Santa coming on the fire truck and serving hot cocoa and cookies. So, of course, with COVID this year, things have changed. Other agencies in the valley, for example, are just doing the tree lighting and that's it, no presentation. I believe there's been some talk about some type of drive-by viewing of it. So I'm looking for some direction on what we want to do in regards to the tree lighting this year. It's normally been, Marjo, help me with the date? First Wednesday.
I guess it just depends on what's happening with the COVID numbers. I mean, that's going to be dependent
Yep.
you know, and it's still a little bit early, but, you know, it's been a great success in the past where the kids come out with their parents. I had thought of something that is not directly, so we wouldn't have the crowd populate. Maybe we could use the East Side Fire Station, and Santa could be out there, and it would be like a drive-by for parents, and we give them something, because we've given something out in the past. That may be something, but again, it just depends on, you know, restrictions with COVID, so that would be something. But as far as the tree lighting out here, and we could still do that, but it would just be, obviously, we don't want people gathering, you know, so that's an issue. I don't know.
Madam Mayor, you know, well, it would be nice to do something, but I think part of our chief's report sounds to me that it's almost inevitable that we're gonna, I mean, no better way to put it, we're in some deeper gradient of purple as a county, so maybe in anticipation of that, I'd hate to see, you know, hopes up and plans being made and even a potential curfew, which would be, you know, a little bit scary in my opinion, but with all that kind of hanging in the balance, may be prudent for us to, you know, figure out what we can do. You know, the lighting, if there's some, you know, something beyond that, you know, a statement or something. But at least I think all of us as a community and as a region are going to do the best we can given the circumstances, with the hope that, you know, I'm only kind of, I hate to leave it on that note, that there's something to look forward to, hopefully, with this vaccine. And hopefully this is the only time in our lifetimes we'll have to do this. But that would be my feeling, was probably not make too many plans and invest any resources. Not that that's a high amount, but
I would tend to agree. I think to keep the spirit alive, I would like to at least have the tree lighting and possibly the lights that we do in the area in the plaza. If we could manage to do the lighting of the plaza and the tree lighting. And other than that, I think I'm kind of concerned, very concerned about the numbers, and would not like to encourage any gatherings. And I'm not sure, but the drive-bys, they seem to work. But then again, I've been to some where people still manage to get out of their cars, unless we set some really strict rules. I don't know, but I'm probably leaning towards just doing the tree lighting and the lights in the plaza, if we could do that. That would be my recommendation. Yes,
My
sir.
concern with drive-by, and I like the idea of a drive-by, but you got little kids wanting to see Santa Claus. If they drive by and Santa Claus is there, the odds are we're going to get some of them getting out of their cars.
Well, if we keep it, let's say we did it like at the East Side Fire Station, right? Where Santa could be out there, fire trucks are there, and they can line up along the roadway and then just pass by, quick picture, and they're handed off something. I don't know. I mean, it's just a thought, but that could be something just to keep the spirit alive, and then we can do something, you know, after the drive-by. If you could just drive by Main Street just to see the tree or whatever. I don't know. I mean, just to kind of, you know, just to keep people interested.
Do we have enough resources to do that? Can we hand out like a candy cane that's wrapped so that they don't, you know, so that they
Well,
can
we
sterilize?
can get that donated. I'd be willing to donate myself, you know
Most
what I
of
mean?
the time we
Yeah.
get donations
Yeah.
for the.
Then if we can be there to monitor that situation, we'll have to monitor it very closely, I think, and then if we have that capability, then we should be.
Well, we can have
should be okay.
firefighters there, certainly, and, you know, I volunteered Chief York already, so he's down, you know?
You're volunteering.
I don't know, I mean, just a thought.
Well, as we
That's-
line them up, we're gonna have to have a little bit of traffic control. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to have them lining up, you know, we're gonna have to kind of look at that and how that works. But
It's just a
I think
thought.
it would work.
I mean, there isn't like, anybody really parked along the side of that road. I'm just thinking, there's a lot of
Road
space.
than out here on Main Street.
It's
We
better than
probably
Main
can't
Street.
do it on
do
Main Street.
the city cleanup when we do the dump. You
Yeah.
know, we use that same street.
I mean, you can
for that
imagine the
setup.
American flag out there on the, I
Yes.
mean, I don't know, it's just thought.
I think it's a good idea. I think that road is, you know, not heavily traveled. It's that whole side, the north side of that street. People can line up there. I know Santa's been growing his beard out lately, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be disappointed if he doesn't get to
So we
participate.
could put Santa.
But
on
has his
top of
belly
the-
been growing
the
too?
Ladder from the
I'm not
ladder
going there.
truck and have
Toss
him
the
way up
candy out there?
in the air. You know, we could have the elves handing out.
Well, that's an, I
Your
mean, those are
Halloween
ideas.
setup.
We can take a look at that and see
clothesline.
what it would involve.
Yeah,
If we
probably
could get
Santa.
donations, we'd have to figure out more or less how many people to expect or how many cars
Yeah.
and get donations.
We'll get as
and
much as we can.
Maybe
yeah,
you can work on that.
So-
We've worked on about 300 people, 300 kids. So we've gotten, we have the unions that donate, and then plus
Yes.
we have businesses downtown, which I've talked to some of them already, and whatever. we
And I'll
can-
donate too.
I suggest
We
a
can
little candy
donate
bag
also.
or
We
a
can
couple
donate,
pieces
yes.
of candy and leave it at that. Cookies might be a problem because
No, I don't
they
think
can't.
I was thinking of those stockings. Those
Yeah, the ones
little-
Perfect, yeah. that'd be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Is
then
that
drive by
enough direction
the
for you?
kiosk.
That is direction, and
But let's include
But
the-
there won't be
let's
a-
ask, Chief,
Oh.
see what he
But
thinks.
Tyler, can we
We're all
include
making
the
plans
lighting
and
of
you're
the
not even-
trees, though? Included in that, include the lighting, because I think that's really, I think people really look forward to having our tree lit in our plaza.
Certainly, if that's the direction of the city council, our fire station over on the east side, of course, is a wonderful location for traffic control and access. And I think more than anything at this time of the year, as well as the pandemic we've been facing, anything to improve the morale or just continue in some fashion the traditions we've developed, we're more than happy to help out. And I'm sure my staff would be glad to assist in any way.
And I'm sorry, I mentioned it with just top of my head. It wasn't like I wanted to put you on the spot, but
Yes, sir.
I just want to, I think it's nice, but if it's too much, let us know too. It's like,
No, I think it's just a location, and we can certainly manage it without.
I'm thinking like right at the curb. If Santa could be there, the trucks are out there.
And
then-
we've
think
had
it'll
experience
work.
with offlining that station in the past every once a year, and we did not get a chance to do our open house. So we can manage this situation without disrupting operations. We're more than happy
Sounds good.
to
Okay.
participate.
It should work.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Is there anything that you
Let's try
get for
it.
the open house, like coloring books and stuff like that?
Yes, there is. It's usually, our open house is usually held in October for obvious reasons. We didn't. We do procure coloring books, etc. It's all fire prevention based.
But maybe that can be included too, in like the things that we give. I don't know if it's easy enough, like just,
Certainly, I will discuss with the city manager.
See what they
We'll
say,
develop
yeah.
a plan.
That way it's like more
Just cover
substantial, like.
the COVID, make sure you follow the COVID rules.
Yeah, because we might
Yeah,
have
I'll
the county
Provided
on our.
there's not a,
Okay,
And
and
Santa
with,
and Mrs. Claus need to be 6 feet apart at all times.
just like at home.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Hey, that was quick.
Yeah.
that was quick.
That's
That was
cold.
good.
You needed to bring that levity earlier in the meeting,
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah,
Like, damn.
So, direction I have, we'll formulate a plan for the drive through Santa there at the fire station,
Yep.
and continue with just
The
getting the
lighting.
tree lit up over here. And there won't be another meeting between now and Wednesday to come back for approval and to get everything implemented. So, but I think we have enough direction,
Yes.
and we can run
Okay,
it. We can-
try that.
You can go ahead and move forward with that plan. Yes.
Okay.
Thank
What
you.
date are you thinking of doing that?
Well, I'm looking at the calendar behind you. It would be the second.
second.
The 2nd of December.
Yeah, I'm surprised how good my eyes are. I can see that right there.
12 to,
Yeah.
okay. Is that at,
Do the tree lighting like at 5:15 and then head out to the fire station after.
We can work out the details.
But typically, don't we do it after the reorganization?
typically, yes.
Typically,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah,
We
but
don't
that's
know that,
not
yeah.
gonna work.
And that
this
kind of
time.
segues into the next
Yeah.
The next
topic.
item on the
Yes.
agenda, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so right now, we're looking at December 2nd, right, for the
Yes.
giveaway, okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on then
Oh,
to item, yes,
Madam
I'm
Mayor.
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tyler, please forgive me.
Uh-huh.
Since we're still on the subject and the proposed date is December 2nd, I apologize for this is not on the agenda. As you guys may be aware, on November 5th, our retired fire chief, Frank Contreras, passed away.
Yes,
Just as an update to the city council, the family has shared that the viewing will be December 2nd at 6 p.m. at Fry Chapel,
oh, it's that day.
with services the following day at St. Margaret Mary's at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Chief Contreras worked for the city of Brawley for 36
Yes.
years and retired in 2011.
Sure.
I just wanted to update you on that, and I felt this was a perfect time with that. With
And,
that time.
and I would respect certainly Chief Contreras' wake, and then obviously a lot of people that served with him, so I wouldn't want to interfere with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we will be having a fire engine detail at
Yeah.
Fry that evening.
Could we do it on the 9th then,
Or
instead
the
of the
3rd,
2nd?
Or the
that's a
3rd.
Thursday.
To look at a different day then.
Yeah, the Thursday, the 3rd.
I will not be here on
You won't be
Thursday the
here?
3rd, no.
What about the 4th, the Friday?
No, I won't be here
No?
that whole weekend. I'll be
Yeah, I
gone.
won't be here.
What about, you said the 9th, Sam?
The 9th would work for me, or any of the days that week.
The 9th?
The
ninth?
following week, the 9th?
That would work for me. Or we could go to the
I mean,
Monday
it's
or
early enough. It's
Tuesday.
before Christmas, as long
Monday or
as it's before
Tuesday.
Christmas.
Maybe it'll
Any of those, Monday,
connect-
Tuesday,
Maybe
Maybe it'll
Wednesday.
connect with the other topic.
Yeah.
If we have a
Oh, right.
special.
I guess
meeting,
we can
right,
look at the
because of
other-
election.
We can look at the other one and see if we
Or
might
the
be able
first.
I'm glad you
to.
mentioned it.
Yeah, like maybe those, the,
I would be open to the 9th. That'd be great.
Is everybody here on the 9th?
What about the first?
The first.
First
the first is
The
our
first-
meeting.
The first, we
Maybe
have a
like
meeting
as of now.
scheduled that
Yeah.
day.
Well,
Unless
we
we
can move on
change
to
it.
the next topic.
Yeah,
and
we need to move on to the next subject.
Figure
then
out.
maybe.
Okay, let's
They
figure
might
out
be
what we're gonna
related.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so discussion and potential action on the December 1st, 2020 regular city council meeting. So there may be a reason to change that meeting date.
Well, staff is just asking for direction as I think Councilmember Nava brought up the reorg. It's normally done on the first, historically on the first meeting in December. Unfortunately, the election certification falls after that date. So we're looking for direction. Do we want to hold the meeting still on the 1st and the 15th?
Let me make a correction. Typically, it was a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
My
So,
apologies.
yeah.
Typically, we have it as a
Yeah.
special meeting. I think maybe the last time.
Yeah,
it
the
wasn't,
last couple of
but
times we
we have
haven't,
tried to
uh-huh.
do it as a special.
Okay, my apologies for
Yeah.
that. I thought it was on the first meeting. That's part of what we can discuss. So staff's looking for direction on whether we want to keep both meetings in December and have a special meeting for the reorg after the 3rd.
I would say so because we don't know, this year's so unusual with the results being coming in at, it's not decided yet. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to get some resolution here soon, but they're not, it still needs to go before the Board of Supervisors. It
Yes.
still needs to come before us. And then, the reorg still need,
December 3rd to certify.
they have until, but that doesn't mean, they have to certify it by the 3rd, doesn't mean that we'll be done with it by the 3rd. So, because we would need to, the county would certify it.
The county still needs
And
to
then
approve
it
it.
has to go to the Board of Supervisors,
The
then it has to come
following
to
8th,
us,
maybe if
and then
they're
we
having a meeting.
reorg, and so it still could be, it could be like the 8th before
Yes.
we
They'll
we
probably
actually
go to
meet.
the Board of
Uh-huh.
Supervisors on the 8th.
On the 8th,
On
yeah.
the regular Tuesday meeting for them.
And if that's the case, then we could do it that night, and then,
Yeah, why don't
We
we
wanna
do a
plan for
December
the
8th meeting
I would say so. I would probably think that it would be done by then.
instead of the 1st?
Well, let's not have the meeting on the 1st. Let's
Yeah.
have our regular meeting on the 8th and do the reorg right then.
Well, we could, certainly, but if, there is an introduction of a new council member, and so if we wanted to do something like with a little bit more, and then we
Yeah.
have an outgoing mayor as well,
I'm
so.
okay with the 1st and the
Yeah.
8th meeting both days.
That way,
I'm
it's
okay
just
with-
addressing,
I think we maybe
The
should
topic.
have both meetings because there may be some agenda items that we want to
exactly,
address
and then
on
what
the.
if we draw it out? and
Right.
then-
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
let's-
And quite frankly, we haven't been able to enjoy the reorg in some time. I think this is a good time to just be able to do it,
I agree.
So
I
for
agree.
the special meeting on.
Special meeting on the 8th.
in the 8th.
And that
Uh-huh.
would be the,
If the election is.
If the election's certified, and we'll know by then.
Third.
Well, we're gonna know if it's on the agenda for the county,
So
so,
we'll know
They're
for
gonna
sure.
let me know as soon as.
yeah.
Or we
I
can
would
pull
just
it
say
and
the 8th.
postpone
Let's
it
have the
for
special
a
meeting
day
on
or
the
two,
8th.
yeah.
And we'll plan
then-
on still holding the meeting on the 1st.
And we'll do
then-
at this
the
point.
the
Do we want-
drive-through on the 9th. We could also have a special meeting on the 10th if we had to, if it doesn't get done
And-
from the county side in time.
And then the tree lighting, right?
the tree
So now
lighting
back
on
to
the
the tree
9th,
lighting.
right?
So
Yeah.
if we do a special meeting for the reorg, let's say on the 8th, this is all in theory, right?
Tree
If we
lighting on the
plan
9th.
for that, and then the tree lighting, yeah, either
the 9th.
December 9th,
later,
tree
right, the
lighting,
next
right?
day or something.
Ramon, are you
okay.
available on the 8th?
Yes, sir. Just tell me when.
Sunday the 6th at
He-
9.
He will have to make himself available.
Okay, we have direction. Now, just one clarification on the special meeting, that would be the only thing on there unless there was an emergency item?
Yes.
Yes,
Correct.
sure.
Yes,
It's
that's,
just a reorganization.
Okay,
that's correct.
thank you.
6
That's-
PM? Or you want to do-
That's
I
a good
think we'll-
question, thank you.
We'll stick with the 6 PM.
6 p.m. is usually better for everybody. Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to departmental reports. And there's an update on the emergency construction project at the Brawley Water Treatment
Go
Plant.
to
to replace components of two sedimentation basins presented by Public Works Director Guillermo Cias. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening again. This project continues. Both sedimentation basins are operating properly. However, we're still waiting for the parts pending to arrive, being some of the trough, the channels to convey the water from one pond to other, and the change order items, which were a BFD for one of the pumps, and an actuator for the sludge collector. We expect to receive those by the end of this month, hopefully, and then conclude the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions from council? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Cias.
It'll be good to get that item off the
Yes.
agenda.
Yeah,
pull that
it's
off
been
the
ongoing
agenda.
for a while.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to city council member reports, and we'll go ahead and start with Council Member Nava.
Just super brief. I don't want to get too tied up in the, topics, but I did want to mention one special item, which was the Veterans Walk from Westmoreland to Brawley. I participated in that. I was honored to do that. In fact, I was there with Council Member-elect Castro, and so he participated, and he's one of the organizers, along with Mr. Ernie Mariscal. And do want to thank ICTC. Was able to reach out to staff. They were having some trouble with the logistics of getting the walkers from Brawley to Westmoreland, and Imperial County Transit was very helpful and supportive of the veterans and the people participating. So I thank them publicly for that, and it was for a great cause. And so it was a good walk. It took us about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and made it back into Brawley, and still was able to shower and get some work done. So it worked out very well. And I do appreciate the honor that I had to walk with the veterans. So thank you very much for your service and for everybody else who was there. So that is my comment for the evening, and just thank everybody. And let's move on. Thank you.
Councilman Morton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I participated in a couple of, I would just call them at best virtual chili cook-off back on November 7th, which would have been the normal chili cook-off date, but not the sort of, I think, official virtual one that was sponsored by the chamber, but just had some families put up their best chili and kind of compete from there with the appropriate precautions. So in the spirit of that, as well as obviously Catacol going virtual, I do want to extend the, congratulations for the committee for, no less than difficult times pulling off what I have heard as a very successful and competitive event. And hopefully good things in the future will come from that, from the, I think, the telecast and streaming. And outside of that, so again, not what we all want. Do miss the traditional cattle call, but hopefully look forward to next year. The only thing I'm going to throw in one more comment, and it goes back to what our city manager, I forgot to mention also, should we have contingency plans? It's just something that popped in my head, but as we're talking about the 8th and we're talking about the second meeting, if we do go into a more restrictive mode, up to and including council even being able to meet in person, because I know we went to kind of the Zoom format when we were maybe not even at this, the infection rate that we're currently at. If that were to get, hate to be negative, but like if that were to get worse, that we also have kind of a plan B for what we just discussed. So just in case we have to.
I think
and I'm thinking of the reorg.
Essential. We're considered essential, I believe. And
so we can reorg?
Yeah, we can reorg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe change the configuration, but okay. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
Was the beer drinking essential? I mean, virtual as well, or no?
I think it is in Brawley,
I don't
right?
think anybody did that version.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. I mean, I keep drinking for the same reason.
Councilman Caltrin?
Okay. I attended kind of an informal event down here at our Veterans Wall after the walk for the veterans and everything. I can't walk from Westmoreland, I don't think. I might be able to do it, but there could be some issues. So what we did was, Sal Ortiz belongs to a trumpeters organization in the country. and they make it a point to play taps at all the veteran ceremonies like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, et cetera. So he came down to the wall. There were probably 10 or 15 people, and everybody was wearing appropriate masks and everything, except for him playing the trumpet. And so he came down and did a rendition at 11, 11, 11. He did the rendition of taps. And it was a really nice little ceremony. There were some veterans there. And so it was just kind of an informal thing. I think it had been placed on Facebook. I saw it on Facebook, and he had talked to me the day before and asked if I would come down, so I said sure. And so we were down there, and we actually played taps at the wall, did a nice little ceremony, really quick, 5 or 10 minutes, and everybody moved on after that. But so I did attend that. And then also I want to bring up this little issue. Florentine is having problems with their parking. And they've met with me a couple different times. Jack Hart and Hoxie Smith are on the Homeowners Association over there. And they're trying to enforce certain rules on the people, and I think they're somewhat successful and somewhat not successful with that. So what they're trying to do is obtain what relief they can get for parking requirements out there. Now, it has to go through fire and police because of emergency vehicle access, and so we need to have a discussion on that. So I'd like to place that maybe on a future agenda where the council discusses that, because it was before our time. It might have been during George's time when that parking situation was set up out there, no parking on the street. And now then they do have some parking on the street over there, but some of the streets are too narrow to offer that. And so if we can get it in a discussion item, then we'll move forward and see what we could do to relieve them of a little bit of that if it meets the safety requirements. And so this has been a discussion that I've been having with them, and they keep calling me. So I want to try to get that on a future agenda for us to discuss.
I believe you were part of that.
No, not the
I
parking.
I can almost remember the council meeting.
They said the year, though, and it was before I came on, 2009 or 2007 or something like that. Is when they said that was approved initially. Now, there was some
we
things that went
readdressed
on.
a few items.
We may have, and that
remember.
may be, you could be right. But I think it's something we should consider in future developments, that might not be the best idea for the valley, because everybody has their individual car, and then when teenagers grow up, they have a car. And so suddenly, two-car parking may not be available, and a lot of times people don't use their garage for parking. And so that can be some problems here. So, but I think it's our only housing development that has that issue. So, but we'll discuss this, I think, at a meeting, put it on the agenda, and I just bring it up because I wanted to make sure they know that I'm addressing the issue for them, at least partially. Okay?
Thank you, Councilman.
And so that's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hamby?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have a whole lot to report. Just beyond the typical interaction with community members, I get, as everyone, phone calls, messages, emails with concerns or complaints, sometimes compliments from time to time. I attended the Planning Commission meeting earlier this month. The big item on the agenda was the CUP for the proposed substance abuse treatment clinic. And so the outcome of that was that the Planning Commission denied the CUP. I imagine at some point it may come before council, but it was a pretty lively meeting. There were a lot of people with a lot of passion in that meeting. So anyway, it's one of those things that comes before the different bodies that meet here in this building that show that there are people in our community that really do care, and one way or the other. And I know that there are people that are very concerned about that type of a facility, and then the people that are proponents of it or the people that run it are very passionate about what they do and the help that they're giving to people. So, it's just part of the color of the fabric of our community. So that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hamby. I had a couple of events that I attended on Veterans Day also. I wanted to publicly thank and recognize Katie Santillan. She has that huge medical facility right off Highway 86, and she promoted posting pictures of all veterans and any veterans that are from our community. And she paid for the whole thing. She had the pictures copied, and then they put them as a banner. If you've gone by the road there, you'll see them. They're still up. And actually on Veterans Day, she had the first event, and she had a priest come out and bless the location. And then she invited people to come out again on Saturday for anybody that had not had the opportunity. But it's there, and she's also done a couple of billboards of veterans groups. And she welcomes anybody that is a veteran and would like their picture posted, or a relative that they know would like their picture posted, and that she's willing to do that, and she's covering all the expense for it. So it's a very, very noble gesture on her part, and I wanted to make sure that the public knew that she's doing that out of the goodness of her heart. And on Veterans Day also, I did not do the walk. I probably could have done it, but I wasn't so sure that I timed it, and I thought, oh, that's a long walk. But I did attend over at the American Legion. I welcomed the walkers once they got there, and was very pleased to see all the veterans that were there, and of course to thank them for their service, and acknowledge my husband also, because he's a veteran, and he's a Vietnam veteran, not just Vietnam era. And he rarely participates in these things, so I kind of have to drag him out there sometimes. Sometimes, for whatever reasons, there's a lot of veterans that I didn't even realize were veterans, except when I went out to Katie's thing. So it's always nice to see how many people in our community have actually served in the military, and it's always very nice to be able to thank all of them. So that was nice. And then on this past week, I also had the opportunity to accompany our city manager and our fire chief on the swearing in of some new fire department staff, and also some captains that got promoted. So that was very, very moving to see the family come, very exciting to see them pin their badge on them. So that was a very exciting day for me. I really enjoyed doing that. Thank you for the invitation. And Cattle Colic this year was pretty quiet. I guess it was pretty quiet for everybody. I have to admit that I had trouble downloading that application on the first day, so I got to see part of the rodeo, and I plan to see the whole thing, I guess, this coming weekend when it runs again. And other than that, I just had a couple of people drop by. I tried to keep the number of people gathering around our households to a minimum to follow our COVID protocols. So, and I also want to thank our PD staff and Public Works and anyone that I take some complaints also from the public, and I send pictures and messages to our city manager, and I want to compliment the city manager and the staff for taking care of all the issues as fast as they do, and the community appreciates it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
that's my report. Yes.
If I could add one item, I forgot.
Sure.
Well, it's actually two items. One is regarding the trash in the alleyways. I don't know what we can do as a city. I know Bill is working on some things to maybe we can strengthen our ordinances on dumping here in the alleyways. That's been an ongoing issue, and I got some additional complaints today about some other areas in downtown Brawley with dumping in the alleyways and near the businesses. So that's one. And two, again, I want to thank staff, but in particular PD. I know that they've had to deal with recent murders and shootings and other things, and that's obviously been publicized in the newspaper. And people, I do read comments online. People are afraid of especially if there's drive-by shootings in their neighborhood and that sort of thing. So I do appreciate the work that the Brawley PD is doing. So thank you for that, and please relay the message to them as well. I know it's not something that we brought up on the agenda necessarily, but I wanted to make mention of it. It's obviously, it's devastating to see the murders and the shootings in our community, but they are being addressed by our Brawley PD. So thank you. Those are the one thing I wanted to
Thank
mention.
you. Yes.
Just one other
Councilman
issue. I have
Kaufman.
to give credit to the Elks during Cattle Call. They did have their annual barbecue. It was a drive-through event. They were practicing all the social, the protective gear and all that type of thing. And they did have a successful, I think, barbecue, and they did have a drive-through, and I did attend that and bought tickets to that, and I'm an Elk member, so I feel an obligation to do that, and I also feel an obligation to mention them because they were trying to continue the cattle call traditions, and I think they did okay with it. So,
Good.
thank you.
Okay. Happy to hear that. Yes.
One more
Mayor
thing.
Pro Tem
Everyone's
Hamby.
If you
got it
remember
tonight.
as you're talking,
Everything.
you
Yeah,
remember something, and it's like, yeah.
I just wanted to say I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate the incumbents who ran and won
Thank you.
the election. That's what it looks like right
Thank you.
now. And also to congratulate Ramon Castro for
Yes.
putting his hat in the ring and making it. And I had the opportunity to have a meal with Ramon a few nights ago and discuss what's coming in our city. And also, I did want to mention, I'm grateful to the Chamber of Commerce for making an effort to, try to have something for Cattle Call this year. It was just a completely different year than we've ever seen for an event that makes us who we are in Brawley, the iconic Cattle Call. And I think they did the best they could with the tools that they had, and certainly virtual events have changed the way we do things this year. But I was glad to see them make an effort to try to have some sense of normalcy in the midst of all of that. So.
Okay, thank you.
Be rebranded the COVID call for 2020, yeah.
When they're looking for a theme, I thought of the old country song "Don't Fence Me In," but
There you go.
they didn't win. So.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you, everyone, for your
Donnie's trying
reports.
to say one more.
No,
No, I'm kidding.
Did you have an after?
No,
thought?
I did not.
Okay, all right. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and move on to the city manager report.
Just one quick comment, Madam Mayor. On December 12th, 2020, we have the Brawley Community Cleanup scheduled. And again, different than we've done in the past. It'll be from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Imperial landfill on 104 East Robinson Road. You go up Dogwood South and turn on Robinson Road there. We have flyers in English and Spanish that we're putting everybody's utility bill. We'll be posting it on the city website and the hub. On there, it has the list of what they will take and what they won't take. And at the bottom, it also gives another reciprocatory place, another facility where they'll take some of the hazardous waste through Imperial Valley Resource Management Agency. That's on the same day here in 180 Southwestern Avenue, where they'll take televisions, computer monitors, automotive tires, and other household hazardous waste. So they'll be going on the same day. So they won't receive the hazardous waste at the Republic landfill, but they will. IVRMA will receive those at 180 Southwestern.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. City attorney report? Nothing to report. City clerk report? Nothing to report. Okay. That you won the election? Okay, well, I guess that concludes our agenda for today. I want to thank everyone that made it to our meeting, and have a safe rest of the week. And we'll see some of you soon. Thank you.
A happy